At this point, you're a horror guru. Where did that fascination of horror imagery stem from?
The beginning. My like my mom is a Stephen King fan, and they were probably, I'm a like I said, I'm 48. I'm Gen X guy, so like my parents didn't have great filters. Like they were like, let them watch it. And so my older brother became a huge horror fan. They were like Stephen King book club. And so for me, a kid who definitely didn't enjoy sitting in front of just bars of text all day, it was the visual stuff. So once I started, once I got old enough and started seeing these movies, um, specifically, what really started getting the engine going was like the early Nightmare on Elm Streets. I became obsessed with the visual side. I wanted to make those monsters. And so from a very early on, I wanted to do special effects and makeup, and I just wanted to make monsters and horror movies. And that's why there's like a signed, Tom Savini picture in my background. And I'm just like, I love makeup and special effects so much. Um, and that was the path. I was actually headed on that path all through junior high and high school. And somewhere around the end of high school, um, McFarlane and all those guys started making their appearance, and I was just blown away. And I was like, "Whoa!" And I just jumped straight onto comics. I was like, "I want to tell stories." But that horror, the fascination and the love of like the dark and the macabre and horror, yeah, it started early.
Let's go back a little bit. And how did you cross paths with Todd McFarlane in the first place?
I got an email.
Huh.
That was
Just like that? So he contacted you?
And you thought it was
yeah,
a prank, right?
yeah. I 100%. I thought I was being pranked by somebody because I mean, Todd was my first idol. Like he was the first guy I could ape Todd like nobody's like no other 16-year-old could rip off Todd like I and like it blew my mind. So he was my introduction into comics and wanting to draw comics. And I get his email and he's just like, "Hi, Todd, you want to draw Spawn?" And I was like, "Fuck out of here." Because I'm looking at it, but I'm also looking at this email address, and I'm not going to give anything away. I'm just saying it's a very old email address. You don't see a lot of that email. So I'm like, that could legit be somebody. So I was like, yes, I would, and blah blah. And I got an email almost immediately back. They said like, "Oh, that's great. That's like let's talk about this further and get on the phone." And I'm like, "Who's fucking with me? Who is sending these?" And I was like, "But it doesn't. I'm not getting all the red flags in my head." So I'm just like, "Okay." So I like, here's my number, and that was it. Sent it out, and then it was the next day. I was pulling up to the comic book store, and I get a call, and it says, and the thing says Arizona, and at that point, I know that's where McFarlane Studios his offices are, and I just sat there. I'm like, I'm just staring at it in my car, and I let it go to voicemail. I'm just like, no, that's not happening. And then I check my voicemail, and it's like he and I had been friends for years or something. Like the voicemail just started off in mid sentence of like, "Hey, I'm looking for Jason Stud Alexander. I'm looking for somebody to help me draw Spawn a little bit better." And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this somebody's fucking with me. Somebody's impersonating Tom McFarlane. Like, what is happening? And I call the number back, and I'm sitting there talking to like I pull over and I'm sitting there talking to Todd on Ventura, and I'm just like, this is happening. Like, yeah, at that point, my 46-year-old ass was 16, and I was just like, this is crazy. This is insane. And because I'd done Empty Zone through Image, that's how he found me and wanted Spawn at that point to start taking on more of a horror quality. And that's how he, and he of course loves to promote, anything inside Image. And so he found me and hit me up, and I was like, that's insane. And he asked me if I wanted to draw the stuff, and I said, "Sweet, can I write it?" And he was like, "Well, oh, all right, well, yeah, like let's throw some stories around it." I I brought on my co-writer friend at the time, and so the first 6 issues I actually co-wrote with my friend Dara Savage. And then I said, "Oh, that's awesome. Can I color it?" And he was like, "Oh, you can do everything. You're a Renaissance man." And he said, "Yes, of course." And then we get off the phone, and I looked at my wife. I was like, "I got to go buy a Cintiq and teach myself how to color."
Whoa!
So I bought and taught myself how to color on the pages of Spawn.
Why did you want to put your bid in for the colorist on that, not knowing how to color? What made you want to take that leap of faith?
At that point, whenever I've gotten to show out, it's been painting comics, and I really wanted to control. I wanted to be kind of painty. I wanted to control the palette. Yeah, and I wanted to, I just wanted to do all of it.
Wow.
So I figured I was already deep with asking if I could kind of write the thing. So I was like, shit, let's just see what you can do. So, those first 6 issues feel like the most mine out of that run. And then after the 6, he was describing to me what was going to happen in issue 300. And if I wanted to either come back or if I wanted to stay on. And I was like, dude, let's just stay on. And essentially I didn't realize that he was a big proponent of it. But at that point I had done all of these panels with guys like Kent Williams and Bill Sienkiewicz and Dave McKeon. And when we're all going down and introducing ourselves and listing our work, they all have these bodies of work, Sandman and Cages. And then Sienkiewicz is talking about Elektra and all this other stuff. And I sat there, I was like, I don't have a body of work. I have a bunch of miniseries, but I was like, I don't have anything I can point to. And so when I was on Spawn, I was like, well, I'm already with my idol. He's already schooling me every 5 minutes. I was like, let's make Spawn my body of work. And so that's why I purposefully wanted to stay on to 300. I knew would give me 25 to 26 issues. And I was like, that'll be where people will fucking know my name at that point, because I'm on the stands every month. And he was right. You do a body of work. It is one of the most difficult things in the world, but man, you really kind of get your foot a little bit more entrenched, in that door. Like, you get more established by having real bodies of work behind you.
6 leg.